What is going on, everybody? I'm Dr. Jeff Langmaid here with Dr. Jason Deitch, part of your Smart Chiropractor team. And today we are talking all about patient activations or patient reactivations, depending on which way you want to look at it. We're going to talk about how you can just use some very simple math. And simple math might be an oxymoron to some people, including myself, but we're going to make it as simple as possible for you to be able to basically reverse engineer your patient activations. So many docs are reopening, they're getting more hours, things are starting to get back to normal in many places. And really, it's a matter of setting your target for what you want, right? How many patients would you like to see? Then taking a little bit of time, doing a little bit of math to figure out how do you get there in a way that's consistent and predictable. That's what we're talking about today, Jason. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Happy Sunday, everyone. Hope you're ready to get hopefully out and about, enjoy the weather. Hopefully it's nice wherever you are. Listen, this is a really important topic. Yesterday we talked on Saturday all about keeping your eye on the ball. It's Sunday. We normally talk about how do you prepare for the upcoming week. That's what we're really talking about here today, because your eye on the ball in this time should be, in most cases, not marketing for new people necessarily, but inviting those people that have been inactive for obvious reasons to get back on routine, to get back on schedule. For the private clients we've been coaching and we've been talking to their staff, we've been talking to the doctors, we're finding that there's a big hole in understanding the basics. And that hole, if you take that out, is the ball, the bullseye you want to be focused on, is that hole. So it's really about understanding how to prioritize your time, how to make sure you are scheduling your time so that you can get, as Jeff said, what we all want, which are predictable results. In many cases, it is just a matter of math, scheduling, action, accountability, and you are off to the races. But it's so easy to get this distracted, discouraged, focus on, I'll say, sort of the high fruit as opposed to the low hanging fruit, metaphorically. And you just do so much more work to get to the not ripe stuff that's on the top, as opposed to the ripe stuff that's just ready to fall off if you'll just sort of shake it up a little bit. So, Jeff, let me kick it back to you to just sort of get into the specific tactics on how you can create greater predictability and literally just control the number of people that will be getting back into your practice by taking the right actions this week.
That's it. And it's really about just setting a framework, setting a system and a process so that you can get results. So let's get super tactical. Let's break down a couple steps here. So step number one is you probably, if you've been with us a month or so, you probably were making some outbound calls about a month ago regarding telehealth, right? As we talked about calling your patients in reverse chronological order. Who's the last patient that came into your practice? And then calling back those patients 3 months, 6 months ago, however deep you got, right? So that's what we mean by reverse chronological order. Now, I would encourage you, many of you did great with telehealth, but you might have misconnected with some patients, not connected with others. Maybe some were not interested in telehealth at that time. No worries. That is the same exact list that you want to call. So you're calling your patients in reverse chronological order, right? There's many patients that have, sort of gone MIA. Maybe they haven't been in the practice. You haven't connected with them. Call those patients in reverse chronological order. So what are you saying? We're going to get some scripts out very soon, but the bottom line with it is just connect. This is human-to-human connection. How are you doing? We're calling to let you know that we're back in the clinic. Here's what we're doing regarding our safety and sanitation. And how are you doing and how you've been doing throughout this. We'll talk about that in a moment. I'll kick it back over to Jason regarding the conversation. But you want to call and have that as your conversation. Now, from there, how do you go about it? Let's just finish those steps, right? So you want to invite them to come back into the practice. Now, if you make 20 of those calls, 10 of those calls, you're going to start to see a trend, right? We've seen with docs anywhere between roughly, I want to say let's say 4 in 20 and 4 in 40, if that makes sense, tends to be, if you make 2 calls, you're not going to have great data, right? So about 4 out of 20 to 4 out of 40 is a good baseline for how many patients, when you call them and talk to them, will say, gosh, yeah, I'm so glad you called. When can I come back in, right? So now you have a little bit of data, right? You know your batting average. All you have to do then, where we get down to predictable results, is say, great, if we're doing 4 out of every 20 calls that we make, we're having the patient say, gosh, I can't wait to come back in. Can you put me on the schedule? Then if you want to have 16 patients coming in next week, you would make 4 times 4, right? 4 times 20. So 80 calls to get those 16. And what I'd encourage you to do, and this is really the key for this, is please do not, if you can prevent this, don't have your staff doing this while they're trying to do 10 other things. This is one of those important things where it is worthwhile to say, great, hey, we need to make 80 calls by the end of this week. I think we're going to do 20 calls per day, and we're going to allocate whatever it might be, 30 to 60 minutes each day on our schedule for you to focus on making those calls and connecting with those patients. That is really, it almost sounds overly simplistic, but I guarantee you there is an overwhelming majority of docs who aren't doing this. If you're watching this, you might be one of them, right? Just thinking about it and really getting down to the brass tacks of, great, how many calls do we make per activation? Just doing the math to then say, how many activations or reactivations do I want? Great, we need to make this number of calls. How many calls can we make in an hour? We suspect it's about this, doesn't need to be perfect. Great, let's put aside that time for the staff or yourself to make those calls each and every week. If you do that over the next few months, I think you're going to be accelerating your rebuilding pace dramatically. Jason, let's talk about that conversation.
Yeah, this is, you hit so many important points. I want to make sure people are connecting the dots. The spirit of the conversation has to be one of generosity and one of service. The attitude that we train our docs and team on is that it's my job to help you get the care you need. And when you focus on it from that spirit, you have a different outcome than when you come across with a spirit of how many am I going to get? I can just tell you time and time and time again, the energy in the office tends to be one of desperation. And not that you're saying, hey, we're desperate, can you come in for us? But there's an energy about it. And oftentimes all of that pressure is put on the staff, on the team. And so they're left scrambling, trying to prioritize. Am I supposed to wash the front windows? Am I supposed to, make sure I'm following up with insurance? Am I supposed to make sure that? Am I supposed to do this, that, or the other thing? This is one of those bullseye money moves. It is. It's essential for the practice to make sure you're investing an appropriate amount of time and you are delegating, you're authorizing, you are specifically telling your team that you need to schedule a certain amount of time that you're focusing on these calls. So that's part, I don't mean to be repetitive on what Jeff said, but that's the spirit of your call. Because if you are trying to multitask, you will not be able to be focused on the goal at hand. You will not be as an effective listener if you are trying to do 3 or 4 other things at the same time, or even 2 or 3 other things at the same time. You want to make sure you're focused so that the spirit and the energy can be, hey, I'm calling to check in on you. I want to make sure you get back into a routine that's going to help you reach your goals. Okay? A routine, not a visit, a routine. I want to get you back on a schedule, on an ongoing rotation. It is easier to get people to sign up on a continuity basis. Okay. There's very few people that make a dentist appointment without ever knowing they're going to keep doing it on an ongoing basis. The only question is how frequently. And I say that as obvious as that seems, because it doesn't tend to be obvious when it gets to the tactics. We think in terms of transactions, not relationships. So just keep those sort of ideas in your head that the goal should be in this new age, in this new routine, and in this new relationship with us. We're telling you that your next best client is keeping your current clients. That sounds so ridiculous and so obvious, and yet so few chiropractors are set up that way. So just to kind of complete the thought, most chiropractors' practices are buckets with no bottom. They pour water in, and as soon as it goes in, it has just as equal of an opportunity to fall out. That's ridiculous. In today's day and age, you want to fill the holes of your bucket so that if you pour water in, it stays in, or at least most of it stays in. That's the key. What does that mean in terms of your practice? That means when new people come to your practice, your systems, your communication, your methodology, your payment systems, your scheduling systems, your conversations, your report of findings are all around the idea of ongoing routine care. The only question is how frequently somebody should stay on that routine to meet their goals. That's the guidance you want to give them. That's the spirit your team wants to have. Let's get you back on a routine that's going to help you get back to reaching your goals, and so you can reach the health potential you would like to. And then modify it, of course, specifically. If it's for pain relief, that's one thing. If it's for performance, that's another thing. If it's for, a specific sleep or energy or whatever it may be personal, connect with people, be a human that is there to help serve people to reach their goals, and you will be super successful.
That is very, very well said, Jason. And as we wrap, I'm going to share my screen real quick. We'll see if this actually, it does work. Okay, cool. So this is just to really outline it really quick. I'm going to do a quick recap on what we talked about. It's really, really important. We blew through the 10 minutes really quickly, but we are seeing many practices are averaging about 4 patient reactivations per 20 to per 40 calls. So a little bit of that depends upon skill set, patient. There's a lot of factors involved with that, but just to put it out there, if you're doing 4 out of every 140 calls, something's fishy with your conversations, right? So that's a red flag. So the paragraph that you see below is just really outlining it in a way that you can visually see it. If you're averaging 4 activations for every 20 calls, and you decide that you want to have 16 patient activations or reactivations next week, then you would make 80 calls, right? 4 times 4 is 16, 20 times 4 is 80. So then you would look at this and say, great, we need to make 80 calls this week. So then you'd say, well, we want to do roughly, let's say, 20 per day, 20 on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and everybody gets to celebrate and high five and serve your patients as best you can on Friday, right? So you can reverse engineer this through the math. Now, step number 1 is to start making those calls so you know whether or not you are 4 out of 20, 4 out of 10, 4 out of 40, or 4 out of 50, right? You're going to have to make a few calls to get there and establish your baseline for your practice. But I want to let you know this is what we're hearing in the field. If you are 4 out of 80 or 4 out of 100, let us know, comment, be a little bit vulnerable maybe, but that's a great opportunity to learn because clearly the conversations are not firing on all cylinders. But take a look at this, screen grab it, utilize it, get out there, make calls this week. Our automations are going to be standing behind you. We'll get those emails out. We'll get those social posts out. And certainly we'll be training each and every day on Smart Tools in 10. So have a great Sunday. For Dr. Jason, I'm Dr. Jeff. We'll talk to you very soon. Bye-bye. Hey, if you like that video, be sure to subscribe to the Smart Chiropractor. We are posting videos on how you can market your chiropractic practice in a way that teach and invites consistently. We have found that is the magic formula to big time growth. So if you like this video, be sure to comment down below, smash that subscribe button, or visit us at the Smart Chiropractor.